Rupert Murdoch put out the word to 600 of his various news outlets and said, under no circumstances mention homicide, either natural causes or suicide. And of course they came out with he hung himself, and then the French police came along and said, wait a minute, it was murder, he was murdered. You remember that?
Yeah.
More control of the media.
Hung himself on a towel rack in a hotel. Now, folks, how many people have you hung a wet towel on the towel rack and it fell out of the wall?
Exactly.
Kind of tough.
That's right. Chip, there's a couple other areas I thought about.
Okay.
Let's come back to my memory now, because we've been skipping around now at the end. You mentioned on my radio show how you dealt with, we mentioned Henry Hyde earlier, how you dealt with some of your assignments financially. You want to go into that? You had an attorney in northern New York, and you could walk into certain banks and on your signature get $250,000 without any difficulty.
Well, in the earlier years with the CIA, you know, all of us understand, I think a lot of us have seen the movie Air America, how the CIA would set up, they're called proprietary companies. We learned early from those efforts that we could do that in the Black Ops arena also. Working for the operational subgroups, we would set up what's called proprietary companies. We have trusted attorneys across the nation and around the world that will set up these proprietary corporations as an everyday business, so that we can work an intelligence operation out of a, who knows, you may be sitting in the Xerox Corporation and it's not really, not that that's it. However, I will say the Wilson family was heavily involved with us in the upstate New York area, and that's the Xerox family, in seeing to funding. We would set up businesses to see that use as covers so that we could provide operations. In upstate New York, we did it because we were working that border area in Canada, bringing weapons and personnel across the border covertly.
Into the Indian reservation?
There, we use the Indian reservations on occasion because it's a federally protected area. But normally, I just fly low level under radar. It's a non-radar environment, practically. So I just bring personnel and equipment across as needed. You know, both ways. I take people out of the country and bring people into the country. What they did with those people, I don't know, but some of them were pretty top.
Well, you know their identity too.
Right.
So you talking about bringing foreigners in?
Right.
From other countries, of course, from Europe, et cetera, where they were secretly bringing them in. Where? Meetings in Washington?
Sometimes we were bringing in some pretty famous criminals to meet with people too.
Mafia? From overseas?
From overseas. People that we thought were gone for years and years that we'd bring in for meetings. They're just in sanctuary somewhere.
Let's go back to did I state it properly when I said on your signature you could pick up $250,000 cash?
On my signature, $250,000. It was set up by an attorney out of Rochester, New York, who was a company man.
Is he alive today, the attorney in Rochester, New York?
No, he died.
Heart attack?
I don't know. But he's no longer with us.
He shouldn't have had that punch.
No, I will say, though, that he was ill, even when he was working with us. But I had a $250,000 line of credit. I could walk in, and the reason we had that is these missions, you know, they're not cheap. You have to hire your assets in, and I would have to pay men from $25,000 to $50,000 per mission to work for us, and that's how it was done. It was done with cash. You know, we don't
no
say,
paper trail.
Where's your checking account? Here's your at the end of each month. They didn't get a what's it called, a pay stub showing them their withholding and everything.
No, yeah, no IRS problem. At least that way, right?
That's what I love about the media. You know, you read about black operations, and the media always wants to say, "Well, I want to see your pay stub from that." Well, these guys are just about brainless. I don't know any other way to say it.
And now speaking of Henry Hyde, we talked about him earlier. He was the one that kept track of your $250,000 withdrawals.
Well, he set up the account and got the line of credit for us. And he could do that because he was heavily involved in the banking industry. Where the guarantees for that money came from, I don't know. But I know that they always had to have a participating banker in the bank that we used. And this particular banker was one of the vice presidents of commercial lending. So,
Chip, let's go back now. And you were asked to coordinate an operation against a fellow American at one point, and that's when you, according to your previous interviews with me on the radio, decided you had enough. Tell us about the meeting that you attended where you announced that.
Well, you know, Ted, this was simply the final straw. I had been asked on numerous occasions to participate in operations against American citizens. From the time I joined the operations subgroups in '86, they targeted U.S. citizens, they targeted foreign citizens, and in the intelligence community, fair game for us, our targets were what we thought of as criminals, intelligence officers, and politicians around the world that we target to influence outcomes of certain things. But when they started targeting U.S. citizens, you know, having been a target at one time myself in Vietnam, I was a target.
You're a little sensitive then.
I'm very sensitive when it came to that, and I told.
Not to mention when they targeted Nancy.
Yeah, that's right. That was it. I'll tell you.
That
brought
broke.
my wrath.
That's it, right?
When
okay.
when I was
good
asked,
for you. Huh?
When I was asked in '92 to see to it that Ross Perot was neutralized, and when I say neutralized, it means that we could intimidate him, we could coerce him, which is a little stronger, more strong-arm tactics, or we could terminate him. And the man who actually gave the order to do that was George Bush, the President of the United States.
And this was in a meeting you attended.
It was in Jupiter Island. He wanted Ross Perot neutralized. I went to a friend who's a federal officer. I walked out that day. I dropped a tape on the table. It had been my insurance policy, and I so that they could see what I had, I let them know, this is what I have. If I die, it'll come forward.
Now, this is you're in a meeting, and you said, I've had it. This is enough. Put the tape down. Hey, guys, I'm leaving. You left. Do you think that they reviewed the tape immediately?
I bet they couldn't get it in a VCR quick enough.
I would imagine they had a stampede right behind you with the tape in hand.
I talked to Colby.
The first VCR machine.
I talked to Bill after that. He was in the meeting, and he said that they just looked at each other stunned at first. They just couldn't believe it, because Bill told me on the spot. He said, Chip, you can't walk away from black operations. And that's when I put it down, and a smile came across his face, because he's the one that told me to do it. He's the one that taught me to make it.
They told you how to do it, huh?
He knew in all those meetings what I was doing. You know, here I'd sit there with a briefcase, pointing the briefcase. It was pretty obvious to him. He and I were the only real spooks in the meeting, that, you know, other than some of the other...
You were the only two real loyal Americans then, weren't you?
Well, yeah, others were Mossad agents and so forth, but they're protected by this too. Most of the guys in the OSGs are protected. When I say that there's 8 different officers, they're not necessarily U.S. officers.
What are the other countries represented there?
The Mossad, and British intelligence. Those 3 entities are compile the 8 men that protects right now.
Wait a minute. The Mossad, British, and American?
The Mossad, British, and American.
But didn't you have other countries represented there?
We had Danish intelligence, we had Turkish intelligence, yeah. But that was, sometimes Australians, you know, had input in, but that was about it.
Well,
I think they had Australians because they could shoot over to China pretty quick.
I have good information that the CIA was responsible for, let's say, eliminating one of the Australian forms of government and bringing in their own people. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
You know, I have some other contacts of my own that have told me that before. And by the way, I no longer receive Christmas cards from that fellow anymore. Since I went public.
Since you went public with it? Yeah. All heart, Ted.
Oh, my Christmas card list has dropped drastically. It went from like that down to about like that when you stack the cards one on one. But I don't worry about that. Neither do you. No, because we know we're doing the right thing. Chip, there's some other questions I wanted to ask you. Chip. Hey, wait a minute. How do I know you're telling me the truth?
Because you like me, Ted.
Now, I hugged Nancy, but I'm not going to hug you. No, Chip, what I'm telling you, the answer I want to that is...
I can give you an answer.
I know you can. That's why I asked it.
Okay.
Tell me. Tell them.
I'm telling the truth because I have it documented. You don't have to take my word for it. It's documented. It's not only documented in the documents here, it's also documented in federal documents.
Oh, it is.
Court case.
Tell us about that.
There's a federal trial that took place. During that federal trial, the SEPA briefing, everything was put in place. There are transcripts to that available to the public. All you have to do is do a filing, Freedom of Information Act filing, but you really don't even have to do that. You can walk right into the federal courts in Tampa, Florida, pay your $25 to the clerk, and get copies of it without even putting a filing in, because that judge made sure that that SEPA briefing wasn't classified.
Chip, you're the only you don't have ex-CIA. You're the only CIA agent that I've known, and I've known a few of them through the years, who can come forward and say, it's documented, the CIA admits that I worked for them. That's in that document, right?
It's in the document.
Yeah. Now,
never a denial on the government's part.
Now, can somebody call Washington, D.C., a certain number, and say,
Sure.
is Chip Tatum, or was he an employee of the CIA? Who would they call?
Dois Gene Tatum Jr., just call the personnel office at Langley. On the documents is my Social Security number at Tampa. You can get the Social Security number. You can actually get the case number from the court and use that and find out if I was an employee.
Okay.
It's pretty cut and dry. There's no denying who I worked for.
No, yeah, right. Okay, but you're the only one.
The only thing that they can deny is what I have to say.
But they always deny it, or they say
sure.
we have no record, and the CIA agents are not allowed to even identify themselves as CIA. Let's face it.
Well, and that's law.
That's by law, right?
That's by law.
Yeah.
Sure.
So if some guy
because this federal judge made this ruling, it's not
and
law.
some guy goes around saying I'm a CIA agent, don't believe him.
Yeah. No,
isn't that right?
That's right.
And I've heard of this. Okay. Before we discuss Nixon's darkest secret book, we've already talked about Tatum Chronicles.
And Nixon's darkest secret is Operation Red Rock.
Operation Red Rock,
right?
which we went in detail right in the beginning.
You bet.
Is there any other comments you want to make or anything else you want to discuss?
Well, we've sent Operation Red Rock out to publishers around the United States, but there's some liability problems because I name the names, and these are pretty powerful guys. A couple of them are still alive, so it's difficult for them to do the publishing, so we've self-published. But the remarks that I get back from everyone, including Hollywood, is this is one of the best reads we've ever had.
Oh, are you kidding?
Really,
what a great movie.
Exciting book.
Yeah, what a great movie.
So we do have someone who's willing to go forward with a movie on Operation Red Rock now, but we're going to have to fictionalize it a little bit so that there's not that liability.
Are you going to have a movie of it?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah. There'll be a movie within the next couple of years, I'll say.
Ah, great. Fantastic. And
they can get that by calling our 1-800 number, 800-201-7892, and ask for extension 58. Just tell them you want Nixon's darkest secret or Operation Red Rock, same thing. That's one of the darkest secrets of Nixon's life, the fact that he ordered 13 American soldiers murdered.
And, of course, they can also order the Tatum Chronicles.
Those Tatum Chronicles got me charged with treason, Ted, and joined in prison for 2 years. I think it's worth looking at if you people would like to order the Tatum Chronicles. Again, 1-800-201-7892. Make copies of the documents, give them to the media. Challenge anybody. Show me where they're wrong. They can't do it.
Okay, also, folks, you can purchase this video. I know you're looking at it right now, but if you want some for your friends, or your friends want to purchase this video, call
1-800-201-7892. Extension 58, and it's available. Just talk to the operators. They take MasterCard, Visa, and personal checks.
And I will also make these available through my flyer and catalog and so forth. So we'll two-time them, Chip.
You bet. Get it out around the world.
That's right. Okay, listen. Congratulations, Chip. It's always a pleasure talking to you. We'll have another 26-hour interview on my radio show in the future.
Okay.
Every time I talk to this man, he comes out with some new information. But thanks for appearing on the mic and in front of the video. And God bless you. You're a great American. And I'm real proud to say that I know you and have really worked with you indirectly.
Thanks. Let me say one last thing. Marine Recon all the way, boys.
Yes. Thank you, Marine Recon. See you later, folks.